Good morning. Today is Friday, March 17th, 2023, and this is a regular meeting.
Get the room to order. We're going to go ahead. We're starting the meeting. We get everyone settled in, please.
Hey, listen up.
Good morning. Today is Friday, March 17th, 2023, and this is a regular meeting of the Kings County Board of Supervisors. Each vote today will be a verbal vote so that members of the public can hear how each board member has voted. After we have had a motion and a second regarding each item we are taking up today, there will be a roll call vote by district. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Joe Nevs.
Here.
Richard Valley.
Here.
Doug Verboon.
Here.
Rusty Robinson.
Here.
Richard Fagundes.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We have 5 members present. We have quorum. Let's move forward with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand. Ready, flag.
I would like allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, before we go down the agenda, council, can we take a minute and go over the findings to show cause for holding this special meeting?
The Board of Supervisors has convened pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.5, which authorizes the board to hold a special meeting without complying with the normal 24-hour notice and posting requirements when a majority of its members find an emergency exists that severely impairs the public health and involves matters upon which prompt action is necessary due to the disruption or threatened disruption of public services and facilities. In order to strictly comply with these statutory requirements, I'm asking at the commencement of this meeting that the board consider making findings that, 1, there is an emergency in Kings County due to floods that severely impairs the public health and safety, and 2, that the emergency involves matters upon which prompt action is necessary due to the disruption or threatened disruption of public services.
Okay, thank you. Do you need a motion to,
Yes, there will need to be a
Those
motion to make those findings.
okay, Chair will entertain a motion.
So move. Second.
Moved by Fagundes, second by Nez. Questions, comments? Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Joe Nevs.
Yes.
Richard Valley.
Aye.
Doug Verboon.
Yes.
Rusty Robinson.
Yes.
Richard Fagundes.
Yes.
All right, 5 in favor. Thank you. That'll take us to unscheduled appearances. Let's do like yesterday. We'll throw out the time limit. Appreciate everyone's attendance, their energy and focus on this. And let's have the dialogue and let's just open it up. We'll go with the cards first. And then if you didn't fill out a card, feel free to approach the podium at any time.
The only speaker card that I have is Joe Mendez.
Joe, Mr. Mendez. Mark.
I'm not a big water guy. I have been involved in this in about 48 hours. So I had to learn a lot real fast because there's been a lot of big decisions and people looking for direction and trying to make good decisions. Nobody's trying to hurt each other and they're all trying to figure this out. It sounds like a quick thing we need to do is Grainsville needs to be cut. When Grainsville got repaved back in the day, where water used to flow and wants to flow, if you go out there and see where it's kind of stopped right now and it's overflowing near the highland, it wants to go where it used to go, which it was lower before. If you used to drive there back in the day, you start speaking to a few of the old timers that are here that even understand or remember this stuff. It used to be lower where it's wanting to go over. We suggest, and I have, if I could, I made a copy for all you guys of where to cut it. 100 feet.
You can give it to the clerk. Thank you.
100 foot wide in that high spot. It's pretty high. And then it's blocking all that. If we let it go, it'll go into that field and go into Cross Creek faster. So Highland, Corcoran reached out to us yesterday afternoon after this meeting, which confused me because I thought that by having this meeting yesterday and me not understanding enough about all this water stuff, that's why I wanted to have you guys decide whether to block that Highland or not, because I don't want to hurt anything or I don't know what's right or wrong. But they reached out to us and asked for permission to go through our property to dam up. First, they were talking about pumps. Let's put some pumps in there since we can't dam it. But then they started seeing the flows and it would take like 20 pumps. So it's unrealistic, the amount of water that's going through. And the amount of water that's going through there is because north of Grainsville, I don't know, quarter mile or something, there's a giant break into their highland. And it happened 2 nights ago, like at about 5 o'clock. After that, it was after everybody was meeting there on Grainsville. It just a horrendous amount of water has been going through there. So it changed a lot after that break. And the only way we think to stop it is to cut Grainsville to relieve it. That'll help. And then if they do dam the highland and then divert it over to Cross Creek, then it will help. It will fix it. The highland will not get any more water. It'll go to Cross Creek. And then from my understanding, and I asked people that I know understand this better, is that the Cross Creek does take the water. They both go to Corcoran, but it goes to a different part of Corcoran that they are able to handle the water better than if it goes the highland, and then they can't. And I'm not saying that I understand it completely, but that's what I was told, and I assume that's correct. So I have another printout here of where we're suggesting to do the cutout, and we'll put it in a giant angle. So that way it flows into the Cross Creek. The only thing I'm afraid of, and I don't know the answer to, is what does this do to Cross Creek? But from floods in the past, Highland did not take water supposedly, and all the water would go to Cross Creek anyways. So all we're doing is doing what it should have been doing by cutting the Grainsville, and then because of the break into Highland, do that cut over around the property there. So that's what I understand. And we're good with that, cutting through the property. It is a horrendous, amazing, mind-blowing amount of water that's going through there. I'm very impressed at Mother Nature. So.
Thanks, sir. Thank you. Anyone else like to make public comment at this time? Yes, sir. Just approach.
Thank you.
If you could just please state your name.
Yes, Tony DeGroot.
Thanks, sir.
And I would concur with Joe. We were standing out there this morning too. And where we want to put this cut is actually where the road was rebuilt years ago after one of the floods. They changed the falls of Grangeville. They actually raised it where we want to cut it right now. They actually raised the road there because this is the natural spot years ago where the water would overflow. So that the channel that would feed this overflow it's kind of you can't see it because it's all underwater, but it's the diversion or a side canal that runs through that area. So there's actually a channel that would actually feed this cut that we're going to be putting in. It lines right up with it. So there's just a little bit of history on that. And then where the water is overflowing on Grangeville now is at a higher elevation, closer to the highland. So they just reversed everything for, I think they did it for cars because they can go a lot faster. They banked the road now. It's nice and smooth. So we can get a lot more speed, but that's not helping this water situation at all. So just verification on some.
Thanks, sir.
Could verify their stories. The water is, we cut a levee last night on the east side of Cross Creek, about the Third Avenue. There's 3 cuts that were put in there that were filled up by somebody that blocked it, so water would not go over to not cause this much pressure. We did that last night. They increased the flows from Lake Cahuilla. It is reaching over the east side on like 3rd and a half Avenue, between 3rd and 4th Avenue on Flint. It's reaching over that, flooding that. And once we lose that channel there, we flood Hanford. So this is a pinch point. So we need to get the water out the best we can. So it's got something that's happening different from 82 or 83. The water is too far east and not far enough west. Cross Creek has the ability to take more water. It's just eroding all of Highline Canal. Both sides of it have fallen in because it's still full. It's running pretty good. So anything we can do to get the water out of there and underneath 198 would be great. I know we're going to vote on a next deal here, and they got a picture of that too. So I appreciate the farmers offering their land up to put a channel in it. So that's all I have to say.
Thanks, Supervisor. Anybody else before we go into closed session?
I want to clarify one thing.
Sure.
Somebody mentioned something in case someone else is thinking they're like her. the difference of damming up the Highland now versus the first thing is those first guys that showed up from Corcoran were saying, we're just gonna dam it somewhere, anywhere. And that made no sense to anyone. It was gonna flood the hell out of everything. Now it's not just damming it. They're gonna literally cut a channel at a good angle to take it into the Cross Creek in a good way and not
Is
just.
John DeYoung here today? Are you? Yeah. So appreciate you guys offering your ground up to let this happen. It's going to help out everybody tremendously. So.
But that's the difference of like, why are they talking about it today versus yesterday? Is because yesterday it was just damn it and let what happened happen.
No, I brought it up yesterday, but then we couldn't come to a conclusion, so we had to go back and close session.
Okay,
I'm gonna tell you, I told you so.
okay. Well, I wish I would have talked to you yesterday then. All right.
He doesn't listen, so it didn't matter.
Yes, sir.
Thank you guys for having this meeting, for all the work you guys are doing. I'm Nathan Herringa. I just want to go to encourage you guys that there's lots of different avenues to get the water safely down to lake bottom. And so with current flows, so I want to make sure that there's many different water infrastructure in this valley. And I want to make sure that you utilize every single water infrastructure you can to get that water down to the lake. Okay, that's want to make, it's not just Cross Creek. There's quite a few other canals.
So is anybody from CID here?
Thanks, sir.
Actually, Devin Eagle is on the.
Devin, can you hear me all right?
Yeah, I'm here.
Are you guys ready to put the dam in once we approve this?
Yeah, we've talked with contractors and they're prepared to do that. I do still want to talk with my legal counsel a little bit more to make sure that the widening of Cross Creek that will be a result, will result with adding another 500 feet is not going to come back on us. I think that this is the only plan we've got, though.
Well, it's really not your water that you're diverting. It's just Cross Creek's water that's in your channel. So I don't see how.
Yeah, we'll be making the connection. So I know we don't have jurisdiction over Cross Creek. That's the Cuya Delta Water Conservation District.
Well, and
So-
Cross Creek doesn't have jurisdiction over you at the same time. So we need to get that water back out in the Cross Creek so they can be handled once it gets down to Corcoran. Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
I don't want to tie it up with legal counsel. No.
Okay. Anyone else? Yes. And take your time. We're not rushing. So whoever wants to speak, speak.
I'm Joel Bleeker. I was just wondering, have you guys evaluated at all whether Cross Creek can handle it and whether Houston, the underpass of Cross Creek under Houston can even handle it? There's canals, CID is taking it through a canal, which is eliminating disaster for everybody uphill. And if you divert it all back toward Cross Creek, have you guys even developed, has anybody even determined whether it can handle it and what's going to happen downhill from there? And so I guess you block a canal that's taking it down there safely and can possibly be diverted downstream further in a safe manner. I don't know if that's the right decision to continue to block it completely. It affects a lot of people, and I'm downstream from where you want to block it, and that's going to come and affect me big time. And so, yeah, there's a lot of livelihoods at stake, and hope you take that into consideration as well.
Yes, sir. And we have a regular agenda item that's going to come up, and we're going to get a lot of information here too. So anybody else unscheduled?
I have my hand up. Can I speak?
Go ahead, sir.
My name's Don Vingendahl. I spoke yesterday. I don't want to be up here all the time, but I do have history of what's happened over the 80 flood, traveling the road every day on Grainsville and in the 90 flood. Highline Ditch has never taken water in any of the previous floods to my knowledge, which my dairy's down on Houston Avenue and I see it every day. In 1984, I believe that the Highline Ditch was blocked at Grainsville. CID group did block the ditch there, which was unnecessary because over the last two previous flood years, all of the floods that happened in the 80s and 90s, both Grainsville was low enough to handle the flow back into the creek, and the creek was able to handle the flow all the way through. If you remember the 84 flood, 198 did get closed. Now with the changes of 198, that puts a dramatic difference of what is going to happen at Houston Avenue. But if the road on Grangeville is cut according to what traditional flows have been, the creek has always been able to handle that amount of water. And I believe it'll handle it in Houston as long as we don't overcut. So my suggestion would be, a foot and a half, or, 75 feet wide. And according to what my farmer calculation is, I believe the Houston Bridge will handle that amount of water further down. So traditionally, the creek has always handled it without the CID water ditch being running. So that's a little history. I'm not a water calculator, but that's what's happened over the last two floods.
Appreciate your comment, sir. Let's go to Devin Eagle online.
Yeah, forgive me, I don't know who said it, but it was implied that Highline is currently taking water safely into Corcoran. It is not taking water safely into Corcoran. It is far beyond what we've ever put in that ditch. And it is an issue at every single crossing along the way from Grangeville to Corcoran. And so I just wanted to make that clear that it is not something that is designed for unrestricted flow of water, and there are major pinch points at Idaho Avenue and other crossings that are impacted right now and could flood out other landowners. Thank you.
Thanks, Devin. Anyone else? Just come on up. Thank you.
I just want to clarify, what I was saying is to block it off completely and not allow any flow down CID, I think is a potential for a mistake. Especially if you have no idea how much water flow is going to come down. And so without that avenue, it's one thing to minimize the flow. It's another thing to block it off completely.
Okay, thanks,
Could you
sir.
please state your name again for the record?
Joel Bleeker.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Morning.
Growth. Question for Devin Eagle. What is your normal flows? Can we just put down the normal flows of what you normally have? What's the difference between normal and right now?
Thanks, sir.
Yeah, so in a typical summer irrigation, so that canal is typically used to bring water down from the Kings River system out of Pine Flat. And typically we've got about 400 CFS going through there. And at this point, my metering station stopped at 515, but it was still skyrocketing, but it's above what we can even measure, because it wasn't designed with that level of flow to be able to track it. So we're estimating 600 and something, and a bunch spilling out on the way. Thanks.
All right, thanks, Devin. Anybody else unscheduled? Okay, we will close out unscheduled, and let's take up this regular agenda item coming from administration. Mr. Chair, you want to start it off?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Governor Gavin Newsom has declared several emergencies, the most recent one being March 1st, 2023, due to conditions of extreme peril related to the storms that hit the state at the beginning of February 2023. Kings County declared a local emergency on March 10th, 2023, and was included in the state's declaration on March 12th, 2023. Your board held a special meeting yesterday on March 16th to gain public comment and input from water management agency and response agencies. Today, we're asking your board to receive an update from response agencies, water management agencies, and county staff, and take actions as deemed necessary. We do have folks from the Army Corps of Engineers online on WebEx, and once you need to call on that individual, please let us know. But at this time, I'd turn it back to the chair to bring up the respective agencies.
Okay, so we have county staff, we have water management agencies, response agencies. Is there any other information from county staff? Anyone else that's going to come up?
Just Public Works, Community Development Agency, OES, those staff.
Then let's do those first. Let's get the county staff, get the information out, and then keep the conversation going. So I'll let you call out who we're expecting from county staff, Mr. Hill.
Let's start with the Sheriff's Department.
Good morning, Sheriff.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Dave Robinson, Kings County Sheriff. So yesterday, I did have the opportunity to take the airplane up and fly the waterways around Kings County. And you can definitely see, and there's a video that's uploaded in our shared drive, but you can definitely see where Cross Creek has breached, different areas to the north of Kings County and to the south. You did see in Cross Creek that as it flows basically south of Houston Avenue, there is room in Cross Creek. Now, what that room is, I don't know, but just on the video itself, you can definitely see that there's room in Cross Creek as it goes to the south. As you get down to Corcoran, where the High Line and Cross Creek meet, High Line is full, and they've actually created a breach next to where the valve was to open High Line. So they're taking more water than they traditionally do into the levee system south of Corcoran. West of Corcoran. Cross Creek at that same area where High Line and Cross Creek, they intersect, but they don't touch each other. There's about a levee of 12 to 15 feet in between the two. There's just a mass amount of water going to the west from Cross Creek. Like it's just massive. That's the only way I can describe it. In the area of the lake bottom, you can see there's still a lot of room to take water. But what I don't know, and somebody can probably answer this question, is where the elevations are, where they're predicting that might go. Because you can see a lot of areas where they've taken water, there's, buildings submerged and things like that. And they have taken a lot of water down there, but there's definitely a lot of room in the lake bottom for more water as well. The other area that we flew was the Tule. There's a lot of breaches along the Tule outside of Kings County, and there are a few breaches in Kings County, whether they're natural or unnatural, I don't know that. But the Tule is definitely very full as well coming into Kings County. So, I'll reiterate my concern yesterday, is the city of Corcoran. I've been in constant communication with the chief down there. And I really think that, we have to take action now to make sure that we protect the city of Corcoran. We're going to lose farmland. We're going to lose farmland outside of the city of Corcoran. But for the greater good of the citizens of the 20,000 people that live in the city of Corcoran, I think that there have to be some measures taken to make sure that we divert water away from the city of Corcoran. I'm not the expert on that. The people in the room, the people online are the experts in that. But from the things that I saw in the airplane yesterday, there's definitely, a potential impact to the city of Corcoran that I think, measures have to be taken to try to mitigate that. And it's going to be a challenge. And I think Supervisor Nez has said it now for the last 3 weeks, but this isn't just today and tomorrow. This is for the next several months. So I can't remember if I'm missing anything or not. It was a late night and an early morning. So, we're doing everything. And I will say this, to the people in this room and the people that I've talked to out in the fields and the people on the phone, everybody's passionate about this. But I appreciate the passion, and I appreciate that none of it's turned into physical passion. So thank you for that.
Hey, Sheriff,
The meeting ain't over yet.
can you,
Well, that's true.
today, you're up for tomorrow, can you have your pilot fly the Cross Creek on the east side and get a video of Third Avenue?
So we did do that yesterday.
Okay.
And it's saved, and we'll be able to show that to you all in closed session if you'd like to see it.
Okay, and that was after we cut it or before?
That was before.
Okay.
So we can get some more video today of
Yeah, I
that.
just want to see if it's actually working.
Absolutely.
And the water was seeming to be leaning to the west,
Yeah.
not much to the
Yeah,
east.
we can definitely do that.
Thank you for your work, Sheriff. We all appreciate you. Let's chill.
Next, if we can have Dominic Taberski with Public Works.
Morning, Dominic.
Morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Dominic Tyberski, Public Works Director. So as you are aware, yesterday we did mobilize roads crews to go out and take some action based on your direction and your orders. We did open the plug that was placed on Cross Creek near Third. And additionally, there were some berms placed on Grangeville Boulevard. We had roads crews remove those. They essentially turned Grangeville into a river, which was feeding directly into the High Line. So those two functions were accomplished yesterday. The only additional comment I might have is, if it's agreed that we go ahead and cut Grangeville Boulevard in the location desired, that we would place pipe culverts in there as a permanent feature. That way in the future and, in the coming months, that situation's alleviated. We are aware of the natural canal or channel that does divert water into Cross Creek at that location. And that is something yesterday that we were trying to figure out a way to move that water in that direction. So be happy to try to answer any questions.
Do you have access to a culvert now? Within a week or so?
So we could certainly get some pipes in there. I mean, the first thing would be to cut the road, let the water flow. Once the water recedes, we can get some pipes in there and we could have the roads crew build it back up. That way we can also restore the road, but also provide that opening for the future.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments for Dominic? Okay, seeing none. Thank Dominic. Jill?
Thank you. Next, I'd like to have Ms. Kira Martinez provide an update from the county website flood damage form.
Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Kira Martinez, Assistant County Administrative Officer. I'm also the Public Information Officer. A quick update, we launched a webpage online to assess the flood damage. It's a survey online and it's available on our website at countyofkings.com. On the top, it's highlighted in red. It says Kings County Flood Damage Survey. We also trained all libraries this morning, so if any members of the public do not have access to a computer, they can go to any public library in Kings County and they can allow you to use their computers, or if you need assistance, they will submit the form online for you. On the web page, there's also a press release section. On our main web page, it says Kings County News, and so any information that is reported out on a press release, we place all those online. If you would like to be added to our media list, please give me your email and I'll place you on the sign up. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kara. Appreciate it.
Next, if we could have Mr. Abraham Valencia, OES Manager.
Morning, sir.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Abraham Valencia, Office of Emergency Services. So from my perspective in my office, we look at it from an advanced planning stage, and I just want to reiterate the words that the sheriff mentioned. This is not just, we don't want to be reactionary. We have to look at it from the long term. And so with that said, we've been holding coordination meetings with our counterparts, Office of Emergency Services in Tulare and Fresno, just to get some insight on what they're seeing and how they're handling the movement of water based on these flows. But to speak more about that, I invited the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. They're on the call right now, and they're available to you if you have any questions. If anybody here has any questions regarding those unprecedented flows that we're seeing and how that could impact us, not just currently, but in the next coming months.
Okay, thank you. And we'll go to the Army Corps of Engineers as soon as we get done with admin reports. Okay. Thank you, Abraham. Jill?
Thank you. I'd like to ask Mr. Greg Gatska if he'd like to come up and give an update on Corcoran. City Manager of Corcoran.
Morning, Mr. Gatska. Thanks for being here.
Good morning, board members, and appreciate that. Craig Gatska, City Manager for City of Corcoran. And really just, you have a very tough role, obviously trying to make sure that agriculture is protected, but also the communities. And I do have to say, I do appreciate the sheriff's words, because that's our biggest concern. It's the lives of residents in Corcoran. So let me just give you a quick update, because we have myself, our police chief, also our public works director, staying on top of everything related to Corcoran. Corcoran in 2017 obviously had the Cross Creek levee that was reinforced. So we have a nice protective barrier on the west side and south side. We're constantly monitoring what's happening with the Tule River, because that's the flooding that's happening in Tulare County, south of us. Obviously, the natural flow of that is going to go out to the Tulare Lake Basin. So it kind of flows south and around Corcoran, but it is already shut down. Well, it's State Route 190, which is Avenue 144. So we have a blocked route there. We have a blocked route on 43. One of the things that we're currently monitoring and making sure that we're fully aware of is emergency access routes in and out of the city. Okay, so figure the west side, the levee, the south side levee, Tule River is flooding down there. We have limited blocked access on that side. And I know we're highly dependent upon agriculture, the irrigation districts, and everybody managing everything outside. So we're kind of looking at what's going to happen with our city and access routes. So a key one right now that we, and you know this, Chairman, I contact you all the time. We have to make sure that Highway 43 northbound at Cross Creek gets maintained, because if we have issues with flooding on the west and on the south, we're going to have extremely limited access. I'll share with you, driving parts of Tulare County coming in, that's being inundated obviously with Creighton Ranch. So you've got a lot of the roadways over there being limited access. We've coordinated with the prison to let them know with their employees which routes they can come in, because they come in from all different communities. So Avenue 184 going east from Corcoran is still in good shape, but realize right now they've got flooding on 99 right just south of Tulare, right on that as well. If those things keep pinching down, emergency access is one of the things that we're constantly monitoring, because if we have to ever evacuate anybody, how are we going to get them out of town if we have flooded roadways and access, right? I won't say concern, the interest we have as a city of what you're deciding with Cross Creek and also Highland Canal is to ensure that we do not have water flowing behind to the east, northeast of the city, because that's one of the last remaining access routes that we have. But that is where our water treatment facility is located, right? So if anything intrudes on that, then more worst case scenarios are going to happen. And like the sheriff, we're going to have to rely on county resources to help with evacuations and everything else. If our critical water facility goes down, that's a huge issue for us. So please keep that in mind. I don't know the water flows on Cross Creek and Highland to know how that would directly affect us, but we are constantly monitoring to make sure that we're not seeing water flows back around us on the side that isn't protected. Remember, we got the west side and the south side that has the levee. The east side and northeast, we don't. We have a new high-speed rail. A lot of things have changed. We've got flood zones that were based in 1950s. We have a lot of changes that happened on the flood zones after Katrina hit in 2005. A lot of those maps have changed, but we've had new structures built in Kings County that are drastically going to change the water flow with Highway 198 that actually got elevated. So you've got pinch points. We have high-speed rail that actually is a new berm on our east side as well. But we're seeing those culvert channels actually flowing through, and that's what's flooding partly from Creighton Ranch. So we're monitoring all that, trying to keep our citizens informed. We use a Nixle through our police department and keep in communication with county agencies as well. But just to give you an update, that's what we're watching and what we're concerned with. But we are highly dependent on our surrounding neighbors, the agricultural operations and the irrigation and water districts. So you got tough decisions on that, but that's where our concern is. We just need to make sure that we're being prepared and we're watching and keeping a situational awareness of all that.
Appreciate it. Thank you for your time. Thank you, Ms. Skatska.
So at this time, I'd like to call on the Army Corps of Engineers, Mr. Jonathan, and I'm not going to pronounce or attempt to pronounce your last name for fear of offending you, sir, but if you could go ahead and come online and give us an update on the flows that we can anticipate in the near future.
No worries. Never any offense there, because I've heard it pronounced in all kinds of different ways. I'm used to it. So in terms of what's going on in Kings County, I'm only kind of jumping into the intricacies over the last hour or so. Most of what I've been tracking and working on is along the Kings River. So perhaps after this call, I can get together with Abraham and get a better idea of the impacts along Cross Creek and Highline, so that I can get a little bit more fidelity over those areas. In terms of releases, I'll have to refer to our water manager, because I believe what we have nearby is Lake Kauai and Pine Flat. Those are probably the closest tributaries to these water systems. In terms of, I wasn't exactly prepared to talk about discharges, but I can provide that information after this call. Ultimately, under normal operations, we basically expect that the irrigation districts kind of absorb a lot of the water that's coming down these main channels. And so, when we see these kinds of rain events, we see a lot of essentially redirecting of those normal irrigation systems, which contributes to larger volumes and pressures on the main channels. So that's basically what we're tracking at the moment. Open to your questions if you have any.
Go ahead and open it for any questions for the board.
Okay, any questions or comments for the rep from the Corps of Engineers? Supervisors? No.
Then I'd like to offer an opportunity for any of the water management agencies, irrigation districts to provide any last input before we close this agenda item.
Any questions from our county department heads for the gentleman from the Army Corps of Engineers? I think the board was expecting more information from them this morning.
Yeah, I got a question for him.
Yes, sir.
Jonathan, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we have an emergency going on down here, and a lot of times in the conversations, your guys' name comes up quite a bit for the actions you took years ago for us to follow the rules on the elevations, but take down roadways, put roadways up, put creeks in. Now we have a system failing, and you didn't really offer anything to help us at this time. So I don't understand what your purpose is. If you're here between emergencies, given direction, you should be here during emergencies to follow up and see if your actions were warranted.
If you can send me information on that, those changes, I can run those down and figure out what was going on back then. In terms of the response going on right now, we are essentially working with DWR on most of the efforts within the counties as well as the state.
Well, just like the Army Corps of Engineers at DWR, you're not here. So why don't you send someone down to have a look, see what's going on?
Roger that.
Thanks, sir. Anybody else? Mr. Hill?
That concludes that report.
Okay, so, all right, so then we're ready to go into closed session. Okay, thank you, everybody, for being here again. Thank you for your time, and we'll keep working. Thanks, sir. We'll now adjourn into closed session.